Reports are swirling about a major new peace initiative, supposedly launched by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to finally mend that catastrophic rift with the royal family. It's being dubbed Project Thaw, an apparent series of olive branches designed to bring the Sussexes back in from the cold. But tonight, we have some stark warnings from our experts that this so-called plan isn't just doomed to fail. It could be seen as a deeply cynical move that will only make things worse. The reason? One key royal's absolute mistrust, which threatens to sabotage the whole thing before it even starts. So, is this a genuine attempt to reconcile, or is it just a calculated PR move with a hidden agenda? And what would it even take for peace to finally break out? We have a panel of esteemed royal experts with us tonight to break it all down. We're joined by royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, royal biographer Angela Levin, and investigative journalist Tom Bauer. Welcome to all of you. Richard, let's get right into it. This Project Thaw, what are the rumors? What's the mechanics of this supposed peace plan? Richard Fitzwilliams. Well, Matt, the whispers we're hearing from circles close to the Sussexes suggest a multi-front strategy. It seems to be less of a formal plan and more of a strategic shift. We've heard these unconfirmed reports of aide-led meetings, with someone like Harry's new aide, Meredith Maines, supposedly meeting with King Charles's private secretary, Tobin Andrea, back in July. This was all framed as a first step. Another piece of the puzzle is the idea of Harry and Meghan sharing their work and travel schedules, their grid, with the palace. The thinking, supposedly, is to coordinate and avoid the calendar clashes and competing headlines that have caused so much trouble. It's meant to look like a gesture of transparency, to show they're willing to work with the institution, not against it. Then, of course, there was that talked-about tea meeting between Harry and his father in September. Sources on Harry's side claimed the brief 50-minute reunion was positive. So on the surface, you have these tentative, almost corporate-style trust-building exercises being floated. Angela, I want to bring you in on the timing of all this. Why now? Harry has been making a lot of noise recently. The timing is everything, Matt. It's surely no coincidence this is all happening in the shadow of King Charles's health concerns. Harry himself said in an interview that life is precious. That kind of statement, whether you see it as heartfelt or as a public pressure tactic, completely changes the dynamic. It creates this moral pressure to reconcile. From Harry's side, he might genuinely feel a sense of urgency and regret. He sees his father as mortal, and the clock is ticking. But it also puts the king in an incredibly difficult spot. How can a father, especially one who's ill, be seen to refuse his son's plea? It's emotionally charged, and Harry has to know that. He is, in a way, using the king's health situation to force open a door that's been slammed shut for years. It's a powerful, if not a little manipulative, way to get a seat back at the table. Tom, you're looking skeptical over there. You hear trust-building and heartfelt pleas. What do you see? I see a charade. A desperate, well-orchestrated charade. Let's be blunt. Project Thaw sounds a lot more like Project Get Back In. This isn't about family, it's about the brand. The Sussex brand is struggling without that royal seal of approval. Their currency is their connection to the throne, and that currency has been tanking since 2020. This so-called plan is just a thin disguise for regaining some of that lost relevance. Remember, the late Queen Elizabeth II was crystal clear. There's no half-in, half-out version of being a royal. You're either in, serving the crown, or you're out. This idea of sharing schedules and having aid summits is just the 2026 version of the same failed idea they pushed at the Sandringham Summit. It's an attempt to have their California cake and eat the royal frosting too, enjoying the freedom and commercial deals while cherry-picking the status of being a royal. The palace saw through it then, and they'll see through it now. It's a Trojan horse, and they know it. That brings us to what might be the biggest obstacle. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The future king, Prince William. Richard, reports suggest he is the main roadblock to Harry's return. How big is his role in all this? It's not just big, Matt, it's definitive. William isn't just the older brother anymore. He's the gatekeeper of the monarchy's future. With the king focusing more on his health, William has stepped into the role of enforcer. His position is all about institutional preservation. From where he stands, Harry and Meghan didn't just cause some family drama. They attacked the very foundation of the institution he is sworn to protect. The allegations in the Oprah interview, the damaging stories in Spare, the constant negativity from their projects, these are viewed as acts of betrayal against the crown. So, any talk of reconciliation is seen through that lens. To let Harry and Meghan back in, even a little, would look like rewarding bad behavior and would set a dangerous precedent. William is thinking about the next 50 years, not just the next 5. He isn't going to compromise the monarchy's long-term integrity for a short-term, emotional reunion. Angela, this sounds like it goes beyond just duty, doesn't it? For William, this has to be deeply personal. Oh, profoundly. You really can't overstate the sense of betrayal William feels. He believes Harry didn't just tell his own story. He sold out the family's secrets for cash and fame. For William, Spare was the point of no return. It wasn't just the embarrassing details. It was the direct attacks on his wife, Catherine. Protecting his wife and kids is his top priority. He saw what the system did to his mother, and he will not let his own family be put through that kind of turmoil, especially from his own brother. Sources close to William have indicated his stance hasn't softened at all. There's a feeling that William isn't just angry. He resents that he even had to deal with Harry's one-on-one meeting with their father, allegedly worrying it would just cause another confrontation. He sees right through Harry's charm act, and he simply isn't buying it. Tom, you've written a lot on this. What does William's hard line actually look like? Is it just about blocking meetings? It's about total exclusion. William isn't just closing a door, he's locking it and tossing the key. We hear he's the one pushing back hardest against any idea of a royal comeback. He's the one who sees that Meghan, in particular, represents a threat to the Windsor way of life. Her ambition, her use of the media, it all clashes with the stoic, duty-first code of the monarchy. William's hardline means no more chances. It means supporting the Sussexes' exclusion from key family events. It means being the main voice in any discussion about stripping their titles, a move that would permanently cut their formal ties to the institution. He's drawing a line in the sand. You're either for the monarchy or against it. In his eyes, Harry and Meghan chose their side, and he's just holding them to it. He believes he's protecting the monarchy from a Californian virus that would corrupt its DNA. I want to ask about Meghan's role, because while Harry is the one reportedly making peace offerings, there's a legal storm brewing in California that makes any talk of family healing seem, well, complicated. Tom, what's the latest with the Samantha Markle lawsuit? It's not just complicated, Matt. It's a self-inflicted wound that just won't stop bleeding. It's a complete circus. Meghan's half-sister, Samantha Markle, is still pursuing that defamation lawsuit. After it was dismissed, reports indicated she was appealing. Samantha is suing, alleging that Meghan's claims in the Oprah interview, specifically that she grew up as an only child, were malicious lies meant to humiliate her and ruin her reputation. Samantha's lawyers are arguing these statements have led to harassment. This lawsuit keeps the most toxic part of the Sussex saga right in the headlines, the Markle family drama. For the royal family, who prize dignity and discretion, this is a total nightmare. Every court filing and every headline just reinforces the narrative of chaos they so desperately want to escape. Richard, how does a legal battle like this sabotage the internal peace efforts with the royals? It completely sabotages it. How can it not? They're fighting a war on two contradictory fronts. On one hand, Harry is supposedly in London trying to convince his family they're ready for peace and maturity. On the other, Meghan is stuck in a bitter, public legal fight with her own family in America. The optics are just dreadful. It reinforces the palace's deepest fears, that any association with the Sussexes guarantees scandal and public spectacle. It also brings up a glaring parallel. How can Meghan expect to reconcile with the royal family when she has a total rift with her own father, a rift that this lawsuit keeps highlighting? This legal fight threatens to derail Meghan's entire California rebrand. It's a huge distraction that makes Harry's peace offerings look hollow and completely undermines their credibility. The palace sees a pattern of fractured relationships and public fights they can't afford to import back into the family. Angela, you've looked at the psychology here. What does this lawsuit tell you about Meghan's mindset? To me, It points to a huge blind spot. There seems to be a real inability to see how her personal battles torpedo her and Harry's strategic goals. The lawsuit is all about Meghan's words. It's centered on her narrative, her truth. The claim of growing up as an only child was a key part of the victim's story she built during that Oprah interview. To have that challenged in a U.S. court is a direct assault on the very story she's built for herself. This isn't just a legal pain, it's an attack on her identity. So psychologically, she may feel like she has no choice but to fight it. But by doing that, she makes sure the Markle family drama stays in the news. It undermines her efforts to be seen as some kind of serene, California royalty. You can't launch a chic lifestyle brand with one hand while you're in a mudslinging court fight with your sister with the other. The public sees the contradiction, and you can be sure the royals in London see it even more clearly. Let's talk about the king, because we hear he's more open to a reunion, but he's caught between a rock and a hard place. Richard, how do you see Charles's position? The king is in an agonizing position, torn between being a father and a monarch. As a father, especially with his health challenges, the desire to reconnect with his son is no doubt genuine. We saw hints of this in reports of their brief, emotional team meeting. But as the monarch, he's the guardian of the institution. The trust that was shattered by Spare left a deep wound, not just personally, but for the monarchy itself. The attacks on his wife, Queen Camilla, were especially harsh. The palace runs on trust and confidentiality. The fear that will not go away is that any private conversation, any olive branch, could end up in a future interview or book. That lingering mistrust makes it incredibly difficult to move forward. So while his heart may want to pull Harry closer, his head and his duty as king demand caution. He's walking a very thin tightrope. Angela, what about that father-son dynamic? Is a private relationship even possible if a public one is off the table? A fragile one, maybe, but it's constantly being undermined by Harry himself. The big issue is that Harry seems to want forgiveness entirely on his terms. He wants these private, emotional moments with his father, but at the same time, he keeps starting public fights that damage the institution his father leads. It forces the king to compartmentalize, to be a loving dad in private while his son publicly attacks his life's work. It's an impossible situation. The king may want peace, but peace needs trust, and every move Harry makes seems to chip away at whatever little trust is left. How can you have a private relationship when one person keeps making private matters public? And Tom, this gets to an issue you've called sabotage, Harry's ongoing legal fight over his UK security. It's the height of hypocrisy, and it is absolute sabotage. On one hand, Harry is supposedly sending out peace feelers and talking about love for his family. On the other, he is waging a legal war against the British government's Home Office over his security. This isn't some small disagreement. It's a direct challenge to the authority of the state. From the palace's perspective, they see a prince who is suing his father's government. He says it's about his family's safety, but the royals see it as a tantrum, another case of Harry demanding special treatment and refusing to accept he's not a working royal anymore. You cannot negotiate for peace while you're waging war. It poisons the entire well. It tells the king and William that Harry's priorities are still his own perceived status, not the family's harmony or the institution's stability. Every legal letter his team sends is just another nail in the coffin of recon.